Everyone that's had an issue with me so far that I can think of, all of them are of the light skin flavor. Every one of them can pass the brown paper bag test. I'm going to say it again. Every Negro I have went to war with in the conscious community can pass the brown paper bag test. I'm drawing a parallel between me and the Honorable Marcus Garvey, which is to say this. We are so used to leaders being light-skinned, and we are so used to our leaders looking like white Jesus that when they don't look like white Jesus, the people will follow them. The people followed Garvey more than any other leader you ever had. So the people don't have a problem following a dark-skinned leader. But Negroes who think they special, Negroes who think they got a right to lead because they light-skinned, get jealous of dark-skinned leaders. I'm going to just be honest. Everybody I had a problem with was light-skinned. Every one of them. I ain't had no issue with no dark-skinned leaders. They all been light-skinned. Brown paper bag or lighter. Brown paper bag or lighter. Every one of them. Every one of them, brown paper bag or lighter. And I do believe, psychologically speaking, that they take issue with the fact that I am of the dark complexion and absolutely proud of it. Absolutely proud of it. I remember I went to war with one light-skinned dude. And again, I don't have a problem with my light-skinned brothers. We one family, no issue. But I had one beef with the one light-skinned dude, and all the light-skinned people start saying, Dr. Umar, you don't like light-skinned, and da-da-da-da-da, and you called him an albino. Listen, that was just me throwing darts during a war. That was just me throwing darts during a war. I have family members who are extra, extra, extra light. I got nieces and nephews, extra, extra light with green eyes, hazel eyes. I never got into that. I have never got into no light skin, dark skin. And I'm going to be honest with you. I believe one of the reasons I get the love that I get. I believe one of the reasons I get the love that I get is because everybody knows that I do not practice dark skin supremacy or light skin supremacy. That is totally against Pan-Africanism. I do not practice light skin supremacy or dark skin supremacy. They are both counterproductive for where we need to be going. I am not a light skin supremacist. I am not a dark skin supremacist. I am a Pan-Africanist. At the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy, we will accept every color, every complexion. Like I said, I'll marry a super yellow light-skinned woman with green eyes if that's what the ancestors send me. I ain't got no problem marrying a light-skinned woman. I don't care how angry the dark-skinned sisters get. I ain't got no problem marrying a dark-skinned sister. I don't care how upset the light-skinned sisters get. African is African. The first color on our flag is red. The first color on our flag is red. The first color on our flag is red, and that represents the blood. It is the blood that makes you African. It is the red blood in your veins that makes you African. We come in every color. Some of Marcus Garvey's greatest fighters were super light-skinned. Some of the greatest Pan-Africanists who ever lived were super light-skinned. Look at Brother Malcolm. Look at Brother Malcolm, very light-skinned complected, but he was a Pan-Africanist and a hero of mine nonetheless. We are one people. We are one people of every color, and I will reject anybody who comes to the Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey Academy trying to introduce dark skin supremacy or light skin supremacy. We will not have it. It is the red blood that makes you black. It is the red blood that makes you black. So brothers and sisters, and I'm going to close out in the next 30 minutes. How long have I been live, Facebook? How long have I been live, Facebook? 3 hours, 2 hours, 1 hour. How long we been at this? I think it's been 2.5 hours. I think it's been 2.5 hours. So let me put the black star line in context. Well, you have to donate. Marcus Garvey built his movement on black dollars. He built the factories on black. Did you know Marcus Garvey was so ahead of his time? Did you know the most honorable Marcus Garvey was so ahead of his time that he actually built a doll factory? The Garvey movement built a doll factory and they made black dolls for black children. He did this before the NAACP lawsuit to desegregate the schools when psychologist Kenneth Clark used the black doll, white doll test. Marcus Garvey preceded psychologist Kenneth Clark's black doll, white doll test by almost 50 years. Marcus Garvey wasn't a psychologist. He wasn't a doctor of clinical psychology like his greatest disciple is. 50 years before Kenneth Clark did the doll study, Marcus Garvey created a factory and they created dolls and they gave black children dolls so our children can have dolls that they can play with, brothers and sisters. He was doing this 50 years after slavery, brothers and sisters. Ain't nobody ever teach black people the way Garvey taught black people. Yes, brothers and sisters. Did you know Marcus Garvey created the Black Cross nurses? Have you ever heard of the Black Cross nurses? Let me tell you about Marcus Garvey's Black Cross nurses. Let me tell you why about the Black Cross. Everybody know about the Red Cross, right? Y'all know about the Red Cross. Y'all don't donate to Dr.Umar, but y'all donate to the Red Cross, right? Y'all donate to the Red Cross. Well, guess what? In the 1900s, the Red Cross was a racist medical organization. The Red Cross was so racist. You don't have to believe me. Do your research. The Red Cross was so racist. You don't have to believe me. Do your research. The Red Cross was so racist that when black people had medical emergencies, they would not come help us. When black people had medical emergencies, they would not come help us. Okay? So Marcus Garvey and the Pan-Africanist of the UNIA saw that the Red Cross was discriminating against black people. The Red Cross was discriminating against black people. And so Garvey said, since the Red Cross will not take care of our people's medicine, we will create the Black Cross. And so the Black Cross nurses was the medical corps for the Garvey movement. These were licensed nurses. These were licensed doctors. These were dietitians, homeopathic doctors. And when black people would get sick, when black people didn't have medical insurance, when the hospitals did not accept us, because remember, in the 1920s, you could not have your baby in the White Hospital. In the 1920s, you could not have your baby in the White Hospital. Black people had to have their babies at home. So Garvey and the UNIA started the Black Cross nurses, and it was the nurses and the doctors and the health experts and the dietitians who would go to our elders and our pregnant mothers and our children, and they would provide the health care in the black community. They would provide the health care in the black community. Y'all don't know Garvey. Y'all don't know Garvey. How many of y'all knew that the UNIA in many cities was the primary medical association for black people? It was the Black Cross nurses that was delivering babies. It was the Black Cross nurses treating the diabetics. It was the Black Cross nurses that was keeping our children healthy. That's what Garvey means to this legacy. Black cross nurses. I'm spitting the facts. If you don't believe me, go do your own research. Black cross nurses. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Let me give you another piece of Garvey history. Everybody familiar with the Great Depression? Everybody familiar with the Great Depression? Let's look at those years again. Great Depression. If you have a question about Garvey, text it to my phone. I will answer it. If you have a question about the Most Honorable Marcus Garvey or his movement, text the question and I will answer your question. 215-989-9858, 215-989-9858, 215-989-9858. The Great Depression was from 1929 to 1933. 1929 to 1933. Although the Most Honorable Marcus Garvey was deported from America in 27, the next great UNIA convention was held in Jamaica in 29. The Great Depression begins the same month as the Garvey Convention in Jamaica. The Great Depression begins the same month as the Garvey Convention in Jamaica in 1929. The Great Depression in America, the stock market crashed in August of 29, the same time as Garvey's first convention after incarceration. I don't believe that was a coincidence. I don't believe that was a coincidence. I don't believe that was a coincidence. I believe that part of the motivation for the great crash of 1929, the Great Depression of 1929 had several reasons, but we all know it was man-made. It was man-made. Just like the crash we had in America, the Obama bailout 8 years ago, that was man-made with the mortgage crisis. The Great Depression of 1929 and 1933 was man-made. And I believe one of the reasons that the Great Depression was started, is to sabotage the economic power of the Marcus Garvey movement. I'm going to say it again. See, y'all getting real Garveyism tonight. You ain't getting no games. You getting it straight from the greatest Garveyite since. I said that the U.S. government deliberately destroyed the stock market in part to sabotage Marcus Garvey's economic power base in America. I'm going to say it one more time. The Great Depression of 1929 was caused on purpose to partly sabotage Marcus Garvey's power base in the United States. Facts. Oh, yes. I am not a black supremacist. I am a pan-Africanist. I have no need to dominate another people. I have no need to oppress another people. Do you understand me? I have no need to make another people feel inferior. I am a revolutionary pan-African nationalist of the Garvey persuasion. Let's get back to the Black Star Line. Let me check the text real quick and we're going to get back to the Black Star Line. Let me check the text. Good evening, brother. Can you speak on J. Edgar Hoover? Yes. J. Edgar Hoover, the infamous cross-dresser. J. Edgar Hoover, for whom America named its FBI building. Did y'all know the FBI building in D.C. is named after J. Edgar Hoover? This racist devil was an unknown investigator for the Bureau of Investigation. It wasn't called the FBI yet. It wasn't called the Federal Bureau of Investigation at the time. It was called the Bureau of Investigation. And J. Edgar Hoover's first major assignment, J. Edgar Hoover's first, we got a Neanderthal in here. No Neanderthals. J. Edgar Hoover's first assignment as a young investigator in the Bureau of Investigation, which is now called the Federal Bureau of Investigation, was to infiltrate the Marcus Garvey movement and bring him down. I'm going to say it again. J. Edgar Hoover's first major assignment as a young unknown investigator in the Bureau of Investigation was to investigate the Marcus Garvey movement and bring him down. The first full-time black agent for the FBI, the first full-time black agent for the FBI was hired to infiltrate the Garvey movement. When I join the ancestors, I have a question for them. When I join the ancestors, not that I want to now, I have a lot of work to do. When I join the ancestors, I'm going to ask them a question. And I am going to ask my ancestors, can you please explain to me? I'm going to ask my ancestors, can you please explain to me, why did you allow J. Edgar Hoover to live so long that he was able to destroy every major, serious, influential leader from Marcus Garvey to Fred Hampton? Marcus Garvey was infiltrated by J. Edgar Hoover in the 1919. J. Edgar Hoover infiltrates the Garvey movement with a black agent. 1919. The FBI and J. Edgar Hoover assassinates Fred Hampton in Chicago, 1969. From 1919 Marcus Garvey to 1969 Fred Hampton, how many years is that? Is that 50 years exactly? 29, 39, 49, 59, 69. 50 years. From Marcus Garvey 1919 to the assassination of Fred Hampton 1969, J. Edgar Hoover destroyed every major black organization in America for 50 years. He took down Garvey. He took down King, Malcolm, Medgar, the Panthers, Black Liberation Army. Why was he allowed to live so long that he took down every major, serious leader we had from Garvey to Hampton? That is one of the questions. That is one of the questions that I would like to have answered by our ancestors. Let's get to the Black Star Line. Let's get to the Black Star Line. Why did Marcus Garvey buy ships? Let me explain it. Why did Marcus Garvey put the SS Frederick Douglass on the water? Why did Marcus Garvey put the SS Phyllis Wheatley on the water? Why did Marcus Garvey put the SS Antonio Maceo on the water? Because Marcus Garvey understood something that we don't understand in 2021. I'm a right hand. Marcus Garvey didn't understand something. Excuse me. We didn't understand something that Marcus Garvey understood, okay? Marcus Garvey understood that 90% 90%, 90% of everything you eat, wear, drive, or use. 90% of everything you eat, wear, drive, or use comes to you on a ship because it's too heavy to fly. Most logistics in the world are by sea. Most distribution is by sea. So Marcus Garvey said, if we are going to build an independent black distribution network, Marcus Garvey said, if we're going to build an independent black distribution where we have black producers, black distributors, and black consumers, black producers, black distributors, and black consumers, we got to get into the shipping. 90% of all distribution is shipping. 90% of all food comes on a ship. 90% of all cars come on a ship. 90% of all clothes come on a ship. 90% of the laptops and the microwaves and the refrigerators and the furniture comes on a ship. So if we want to make African people economically independent, we have to get into shipping. Here's the problem with that. Here's the problem with that. And I don't know if the Honorable Marcus Garvey was conscious of this at the time, but I think he was. I don't know if the Garvey movement was conscious of this 100 years ago, but I think they were. When Marcus Garvey decided to get into distribution for black people, do you realize by getting into distribution, independent distribution, he was cutting out the white man from making money off of shipping things to black people? Do you realize that the Black Star Line posed the greatest threat to white capitalism in American history? The Black Star Line posed the greatest threat to the monopoly of white capitalism over the black dollar in the modern world. Garvey was going to cut out the white man from getting rich off the black man. They said he got to go. They called up J. Edgar Hoover. They said, who the hell is this Jamaican putting ships on the water talking about he gonna take black products straight to black people? Who is this black man who just showed up in our country 4 years ago? He only been here 4 years, and this Negro got ships on the water, and he's threatening to cut us out of the black dollar. They said Garvey got to go. They said Garvey got to go, and he got to go now. This Negro is going to sabotage the white man's control of the black dollar. Could you imagine? Could you imagine where black people would be at if they left Marcus Garvey alone? Could you imagine where black people would be if W.E.B. Du Bois wasn't so jealous and allowed himself to be used by the U.S. government? If A. Philip Randolph wasn't so jealous and didn't allow the government to use him? Do you know where we would be if all those Negroes who wrote a letter to the Attorney General? Listen to me. Listen to me, brothers and sisters. The Garvey Must Go campaign. We got to talk about that. Because I'm living in an Ifatunde Must Go campaign right now. We're going to get to the Garvey Must Go campaign in a minute. We're going to get to the Garvey Must Go campaign in a minute because We dealing with a Dr.Umar must go campaign right now. The Marcus Garvey must go campaign. We dealing with an Ifatunde must go campaign right now. Do you realize that a group of the leading black leaders in America, do you realize that a group of the leading black leaders in America, do you realize that a group of the leading black leaders in America were so jealous of the Honorable Marcus Garvey, so jealous of the Honorable Marcus Garvey, so jealous of the Honorable Marcus Garvey that they wrote a letter to the Attorney General of the United States. They wrote a letter to the Attorney General of the United States begging the U.S. government to get rid of Marcus Garvey. It is the most embarrassing, degenerative, disrespectful, dysfunctional, trifling thing black leaders have ever done in America. I'm going to say it again. They got together, brothers and sisters. Your black leaders 100 years ago, your black leaders 100 years ago got together and wrote a letter to the Attorney General begging the Attorney General of the United States to deport Marcus Garvey, brothers and sisters. Did y'all hear what I said? Did y'all hear what I said? Dr. Umar is going through the same thing now. Dr. Umar is going through the same thing now. The difference between Marcus Garvey's haters and mine. The difference between Marcus Garvey's haters and mine. The difference between Marcus Garvey's haters and mine is at least Marcus Garvey's haters were actually doing something for the black community. The difference between Marcus Garvey haters and Dr. Umar haters is Marcus Garvey's haters, although they were jealous and they lacked vision and they were dependent on white people, they still were doing some things in the community for black people. None of my haters are doing anything for the black community except sitting on YouTube making jealous videos about the most influential school psychologist in black history, the top orator of the 21st century, the top Pan-Africanist of the 21st century. I'm going through the same thing Marcus Garvey went through 100 years ago. Brothers and sisters, they have written to the state attorneys, attorney generals, mayors, governors, IRS, GoFundMe, these jealous people. And the sad thing about my situation is you got a whole bunch of beta males following a white woman who is the leader of the Umar Must Go campaign. See, W.E.B. Du Bois was the leader of the Garvey Must Go. W.E.B. Du Bois was the leader of the Garvey Must Go campaign. But the Umar Must Go campaign is led by a white woman who is leading a whole group of black men. It is so sad. A white woman is literally leading a group of black men and trying to destroy me because I want to open up a school. Tried to destroy Garvey because he wanted to put ships on the water so black people could distribute their products. Brothers and sisters, on October the 11th of 1919, J. Edgar Hoover wrote a memo basically telling the FBI that it was time to get Garvey, This Negro got ships on the water. And by the way, for those of y'all who don't know, Marcus Garvey's ships did operate. The Black Star Line was functional. The Black Star Line took black farmers' crops from America to the Caribbean, from the Caribbean to America. Listen to me. When black farmers and black producers wanted to sell their stuff, the white ships would overcharge the black farmers and the black producers. Marcus Garvey stepped in with the Black Star Line. And because Marcus Garvey stepped in with the Black Star Line, he was able to transport produce and product for black manufacturers from North America to South America to the Caribbean. That's why Garvey had to go. Garvey was taking black product from black people and taking it to other black people so we could buy black, shop black, and live black. That's what Garvey was doing for us. That's what Garvey was doing. Joe Kwani, Dr. Queen, I thought you were a hater last night, my sister. I thought you were a hater, but I gave you the benefit of the doubt. I said my sister is getting kind of spicy in the mouth, but I'm going to let her ride because she's a black woman and I love our sisters. But you're back on here tonight, sister, and it looks like you're cooning. It looks like you're cooning. Are you comparing yourself to Marcus Garvey? Yes, I am, but not because I'm on the same level as the Honorable Marcus Garvey, but I'm going through the same thing that he went through, and I'm trying to finish the work that he started. I am not capable of tying Marcus Garvey's shoes. Do you understand me? I can't even tie his shoes. I am nowhere near. But yes, I'm comparing on a lower scale because what I'm doing is what he was doing. So the next smart comment out of your mouth, Dr. Queen, you're going to be added to the Book of Negroes. The Book of Negroes is a list of coons and disrespectful Negroes, okay, who will not be allowed to enter the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy for the rest of their life. So I'm going to ask you, are your jokes worth a lifetime ban from the most anticipated independent school in Black history? Because Dr. Queen, if you keep it up, baby, and I don't want to do this to you. This is Kwanzaa. It's the end of the year. You, my sister, I love you. But the next smart-ass comment out your mouth, I'm going to block you, and you're going on the Book of Negroes. Okay? It's the end of the year. It's December the 27th. We have the 28th, the 29th, the 30th, the 31st. We have 4 days left. 4 days left. And I want to end this year on a smooth, positive note. Okay? And if you cannot end the year on a good note with me, I will block you and add you to the Book of Negroes. So, I forgot my train of thought. Where was I? See, this is why I don't like to take time out to deal with the cooning, because I lose my place. Okay, let's get back to the Black Star Line. So Garvey's Black Star Line risked white companies losing billions of dollars by cutting them out of the black dollar. Sister Darren, you're Ifatunde. Are you cooning? So explain to us why people don't like you. Maybe you should toot your own horn a little bit more. It's therapeutic. Okay. Okay. I thought you was cooning, Sister Darren, but I think you good. I think you good. So anyway, the Black Star Line was the beginning of Marcus Garvey creating an international distribution network for African people. It was the most revolutionary economic program ever introduced in Black America. It was the most revolutionary economic program ever introduced in the African world. I'm telling you guys now, the reason Garvey had to go to jail when he did is because if they did not lock him up when they did, the Black Star Line would have been a success. White capitalism would have been cut out. Could you imagine what Marcus Garvey could have done if he would have took them ships to Africa and started transporting gold and coltan and oil and diamonds from Africa to Black America, from Africa to the Caribbean islands? Marcus Garvey was on the brink of economic revolution. Marcus Garvey was on the brink of economic revolution. No Black leader since Garvey has ever attempted anything like that. No Black leader since Garvey has ever again attempted anything on the size of the Black Star Line steamship distribution network. No Black leader since Garvey. That's why he had to go to jail, because this man was the most dangerous. What did Malcolm X say? What did Malcolm X say? I read it to you earlier. What did Malcolm X say about Garvey? Malcolm X, who grew up in the Garvey movement, said that Marcus Garvey was the most controversial Black man in the world. In the world. Those are Malcolm X's words. Those are Malcolm X's words. Marcus Garvey, if you were to rank the Black men who threatened white supremacy the most, and there were a lot, Marcus Garvey might be number one. Because although we had other leaders who fought racism in their country, Marcus Garvey was trying to destroy white supremacy from the global level. Marcus Garvey was working to destroy white supremacy from the global level. Because Marcus Garvey was working to destroy racism from the global level, there may be some other ones who you could challenge. Nobody after Garvey, almost nobody after Garvey. They would have to be pre-Garvey. They would have to be pre-Garvey, because after Garvey, no leader ever challenged racism economically, politically, intellectually, or socially on the level of Garvey. Somebody asked me, they said, Dr. Umar, why didn't they assassinate Garvey? Well, first of all, they tried and they failed. Remember, George Tyler, October 14th, 1919, they tried and they failed. But the reason they didn't do it again, I believe the reason Garvey was not assassinated, and some people think he was, some people believe that the Honorable Marcus Garvey's death in London on June the 10th of 1940 was the result of an assassination. I'm not convinced yet. I haven't seen enough evidence, but the argument is that Garvey was poisoned. They believe Garvey was poisoned, and the reason they believe Garvey was poisoned is because Garvey, during his final years in Europe, was funding, raising money, and sending it into Africa to finance the anti-colonization wars. I'm going to say it again. Garvey's final years in London, he was sending money, raising money, and sending money into Africa to finance the fighting against white colonialism. And so they believe that the white colonists had Garvey poisoned. And some people believe Garvey's death was an assassination. But barring that possibility, getting back to the 1920s in America, right? Because Garvey had 4 stages. The Garvey Garvey's life had 4 stages. The Caribbean stage, number 1, the American stage, number 2, the Jamaican stage, number 3, and the final stage in London, number 4. Those were the 4 stages of Garvey's life. The Caribbean stage, when he founded the UNIA, the American stage, when he came to America, Jamaican stage, when he was deported in 27, and then the London stage, which is the last stage. The reason Garvey wasn't murdered in the 1920s, the reason Garvey wasn't murdered in the 1920s is because he was leader of a 13 million member organization. Could you imagine what would have happened if Brother Malcolm X or Dr. King was the leader of a 13 million member organization with both a male militia and a female militia? Let me say it again. What do you think would have happened if Dr. King or Malcolm X or Medgar Evers or Fred Hampton was murdered while they were the leader of a 13 million member organization with branches all over the world? What do you think would have happened? Black people would have rose up and we may have destroyed white supremacy once and for all. They couldn't risk it. The American military didn't even have 1 million people. The American military didn't even have 1 million people. The American military didn't even have 1 million people, and Garvey had 13 million. The U.S. government couldn't risk it. London couldn't risk it. The Caribbean couldn't risk it. No country was willing to risk what would happen if you assassinate a leader of 13 million with a male militia and a female militia. Let's talk about that for a minute. And by the way, for those of y'all who like to hate on the Black Star Line Steamship Corporation, for those of y'all who like to hate on the Black Star Line Steamship Corporation, I want you to know that the FBI paid a black captain by the name of Joshua Cockburn. Joshua Cockburn. I should call him Joshua Cock Eater. Joshua Cockburn. Captain Cockburn, a black captain, infiltrated the Black Star Line. Marcus Garvey trusted this coon. He trusted this coon, and this coon deceived Marcus Garvey, sabotaged the Black Star Line ships, sunk one of the ships, at least one, I believe. And after he helped destroy the Black Star Line ships, Captain Joshua Cockburn, Cockburn, Captain Cockcoon, Captain Coonburn, Cockburn the Coon, Captain Joshua Cockburn the Coon, after he sabotaged the Black Star Line steamship, was paid by the government of the United States for helping to sabotage the most significant black economic undertaking that we have seen in 100 years. Yes, brothers and sisters, a black man deceived Marcus Garvey, working for the government, a black ship captain, sabotaged the most revolutionary economic undertaking of the past 100 years. May Cockburn burn in hell. And I don't like to say that about those who have went to the ancestors, but as Garvey said, quote, that man had the economic destiny of the African race in his hands, and he traded it all away for a few dirty pieces of silver. We were cooning then, we are cooning now. We were cooning then, we are cooning now. We were cooning then, and we were cooning now. Brothers and sisters, before I continue, I want to ask y'all to donate to the Fdmg fund. if you are enjoying this second day of Kwanzaa live stream seminar, Kujichagulia, self-determination, who was Marcus Garvey? If you are learning anything from the Prince of Pan-Africanism tonight, if you have learned one thing about Garvey, one thing about Pan-Africanism, one thing about Black history, one thing about African history, please get on your Cash App. $FDMG School. $FDMG School. $FDMG School, or get on your PayPal for my international brothers and sisters. Get on your PayPal for my international brothers and sisters. PayPal.me/FDMG School. PayPal.me/FDMG School. PayPal.me/FDMG Academy. PayPal.me/FDMG Academy. PayPal.me/FDMG Academy. Cash App is $FDMG School. Cash App is $FDMG School. If you need to mail a check or money order, make it payable to FDMG Academy, P.O. Box 9634. P.O. Box 9634, Wilmington, Delaware. P.O. Box 9634, Wilmington, Delaware, 19809. If you want to make a personal donation that goes to Dr. Umar, not to the school, but to Dr. Umar, you can do $DrUmarJohnson on Cash App. $DrUmarJohnson. No period. $Dr. Umar Johnson on Cash App. Do not do $Dr. Umar. Do not do $DrUMAR. That is a fraudulent account. They have the very same picture that I have on my real account. I do not have an account called $Dr. Umar. It is $Dr. Umar Johnson. If you want to make a donation to me, if you don't have enough to make 2 donations, give it to the school. The school always comes first. FDMG always comes first. Rochester, New York, I will see you Saturday. Rochester, New York, I will see you Saturday. The new year begins in Frederick Douglass City. The new year begins in Frederick Douglass City. Rochester, New York, I will see you at Allah's Kitchen, which is owned by one of our good brothers from the nation of Guys and Earth. He's going to be cooking up some good food for y'all at the Allah's Kitchen. Come through this Saturday, January the 2nd. Saturday, January the 2nd, Rochester, New York, Allah's Kitchen from 2 until 8. It is free. Come through, get your book. $50, credit card, cash, or Cash App. If you want to meet me, talk to me, have a question for me, it is a special ed drop-in clinic. Any questions for your children, bring the paperwork. I will look at it and help you out. Special ed drop-in clinic and book signing, Rochester, New York, Saturday, January the 2nd, Allah's Kitchen from 2 until 8. And then the next day, Sunday, January the 3rd, Sunday, January the 3rd, Buffalo, New York. Buffalo, New York, Sunday, January the 3rd, Alfonso Raphael Green Junior Center on Fillmore from 2 until 8 in Buffalo, New York. Saturday, Rochester, Sunday, Buffalo. Dr. King's birthday. Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad's birthday, January the 12th. Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad's birthday, January the 12th. We will be in Brooklyn, 4 o'clock until 6 o'clock at the Magnolia Tree, 677 Lafayette Avenue. 677 Lafayette Avenue. We will be celebrating the late, great Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad, founder of the new Black Panther Party, who without question was influenced by the most honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. We celebrate him in Brooklyn, January the 12th, 4 to 6 at the Magnolia Tree. And then on Friday, January the 15th, we celebrate Dr. King's birthday in Goose Creek, South Carolina. Goose Creek, South Carolina, right next to Charleston. Black Parent Advocate book release at the Diamond Cuts Barbers Lounge. The Diamond Cuts Barbers Lounge, Goose Creek, Charleston, South Carolina. Diamond Cuts Barbers Lounge in Goose Creek near Charleston, South Carolina. Dr. King's birthday, Friday, January the 15th from 2 until 8. And the next day, I will be in Macon, Georgia for the first time. Macon, Georgia on Saturday, January the 16th. Macon, Georgia on Saturday, January the 16th. We will be at Homeland Village Cultural Center. Homeland Village Cultural Center, Macon, Georgia, 2910 Napier Avenue, Saturday, January 16th from 2 to 8. Rochester the 2nd, Buffalo the 3rd, Charleston, South Carolina the 15th, Macon, Georgia the 16th, Brooklyn, New York the 12th. So let us continue with the seminar. Let us continue with the seminar. Let us continue with the seminar. So, Garvey gets arrested, and they accuse the Most Honorable Marcus Garvey of using the United States mail to defraud investors in connection with selling the Black Star Line stock certificates, right? I need y'all to follow this. Marcus Garvey was accused of using the mail to sell stock in a ship that had not yet been purchased. That was the accusation. You're using the mail to commit fraud, right? Guess what the evidence was against Garvey? Guess what the evidence was against Garvey? The evidence was an empty envelope that a witness who Garvey never knew claims to have contained a solicitation to buy stock in the Black Star Line. Let me say this again. I hope y'all following me. The evidence was an empty envelope. When Garvey's lawyer said, "Where is the evidence that my client was selling stock for a ship he didn't own?" Benny Dancy the Coon, Benny the Coon Dancy, Benny the Coon Dancy, who we found out later was an undercover agent for the FBI, Benny the Coon Dancy had an empty envelope, and he said, there was a stock certificate in here asking me to buy stock in the new ship. But in a court of law, you got to prove it. You got to prove it. He could not find it. There was no evidence against Garvey. And Marcus Garvey was convicted and sent to jail for 5 years because somebody claimed that this empty envelope had a solicitation for stock in a ship that Garvey did not own. Marcus Garvey's attorney, who was white, the blacks were too scared to defend him. Marcus Garvey's attorney, who was white, the blacks were too scared to defend him. Marcus Garvey's attorney said, in all his years of practicing law, Marcus Garvey's attorney said, in all the years he had practiced law, he had never seen a defendant treated so maliciously and with so much contempt by the American court system. He said the Marcus Garvey case was a total farce. They set that man up and they lynched him in the courtroom because they didn't want him to continue with the Black Star Line Steamship Corporation because it would have economically liberated Africa, Black America, the Caribbean, Australia, Central and South America, Black Europe, and points beyond. And they lynched Garvey to destroy the Black Star. They lynched Garvey to destroy the Black Star Line. But that's not the end of the story. That's not the end of the story. Garvey goes to jail. To help raise money, Queen Mother Amy Jakes Garvey compiles his speeches in quotes into this book, The Philosophy and Opinions of Marcus Garvey. This was compiled by Queen Mother Amy Jakes Garvey, his second wife. Him and Amy Ashwood got a divorce. He married Amy Jakes. I guess Marcus Garvey liked girls named Amy. Okay. And so, while he's in jail, they're raising money to appeal the decision. The Supreme Court refuses to hear Garvey's case. The Supreme Court refuses to hear Garvey's case. The Supreme Court refuses to hear Garvey's case. So Malcolm X's father, Earl Little, writes to the President of the United States demanding that Garvey be pardoned for this unjust conviction and sentence. Other Garveyites write, there's a massive campaign by Garveyites around the world saying our leader was lynched. He was not given a fair trial. We demand a retrial. The whole Garvey thing was powerful, brothers and sisters. It was powerful. It was powerful. And I think that President Calvin Coolidge, President of the United States, Calvin Coolidge, finally decides November 18th, 1927, Marcus Garvey goes to jail 1925. At the end of 27, serving nearly 3 years, November the 18th of 1927, President Calvin Coolidge of the United States of America commutes Garvey's sentence. He is released from jail in Atlanta. He served at the Atlanta Federal Penitentiary. The Atlanta Federal Penitentiary is where Garvey did his 3 years in jail. The President of the United States commutes the sentence. I believe he was scared. He also knew Garvey was done wrong. He knew Garvey was convicted unjustifiably, but I think they were scared because Garveyites wasn't no cowards. Garveyites was unapologetically after this. Marcus Garvey's military, the Universal African Legion. There would be no Black Panther Party if there was no Universal African Legion. There would have been no Deacons for Defense if there was no Universal African Legion. There would be no Fruit of Islam if there was no Universal African Legion. Marcus Garvey gave us the first major national Black militia in the Universal African Legion. And these brothers were serious. They was suited. They was booted. They went to war with the Klan. They went to war with the racists. They went to war with the police. Yes, brothers and sisters, the African Guards of Garvey was nothing to fuck with. The African Guards of Garvey was nothing to fuck with. They had guns, they had rifles, they drilled, they trained, they was ex-military, and they defended Garvey. In fact, the government was so scared when they first arrested Garvey. When they first arrested Garvey back in 22, 23, when they first arrested Garvey, they were afraid that the Universal African Legion, the Marcus Garvey military, they were so scared that the Universal African Legion, the Marcus Garvey's military, you good, Umps? The Marcus Garvey military was going to break into the prison and bust him out of necessary for the generals of the two armies to sit down and have a ceasefire. I want y'all to understand something. For the leader of the Ku Klux Klan to request a meeting with Garvey, what is that telling you? I'm going to ask you again. I'm going to ask you again. The African Guards of Garvey, the Universal African Legion, is at war with the KKK, defending the lives of black people. The leader of the KKK requests to meet with the most honorable Marcus Garvey. What is that telling you? Who's thinking out there? Who's thinking out there? You know why he wanted to meet with Garvey? Because he was shook. He was shook. He respected him, and he respected his military power. Garvey had the power. Garvey had the power. And so the leader of the whites sat down with the leader of the blacks and said, listen, we never going to get along. We never going to like each other. We're going to continue to disagree. But if you want to save your Klansmen, they better stop messing with our people. But as long as they threaten us, we are going to threaten them. And Marcus Garvey said he left that meeting and he said, hey, I was talking to a man who was unapologetically white, and he was talking to a man who was unapologetically black. And we left it at that. It was a ceasefire. That's all it was. Two generals engaged in war, sitting down to call a ceasefire to save lives. That was it. Garvey was the real ride or die. Garvey was the real Rough Riders. The original Rough Riders is the African Guards of Garvey. The original Rough Riders is the Universal African Legion. And guess what, black women? KKK ain't want that smoke. They didn't want that smoke. They didn't want it. Them boys wasn't playing with them. You got to remember, black men had just come back from the war. Black men had just come back from the war and had to deal with racism after they just got finished fighting. They said, we're not going through this. They started joining Garvey in droves. The St. Louis riots happened during Garvey. Tulsa happened during Garvey. Tulsa race war. Rosewood. Those black men said, we are going to join Garvey and we're going to fight to defend our women and children. And they joined the Universal African Legion. That's right. They strapped up, brothers and sisters. Wasn't no nonviolence in Garvey. Wasn't no nonviolence in Garvey. They strapped up. They didn't just show up to be seen by the news. They didn't just show up with a whole bunch of guns and do nothing. No, they showed up and they went to war to defend the black community. That's what Garvey is. That's what Garvey is. The Deacons of Defense was inspired by the Universal African Legion in the southern states. Yes. The Black Panther Party, inspired by the African Guards of Garvey. We were the first military. We were the first military, and we carried guns. The African Legionnaires carried guns, real ones. It was the pull-up team for real. It was the pull-up team. They had shootouts with the cops and everything. Do your history if you don't believe. You said I talk too much? I'm gonna take you off the live since I talk too much. Course in knowledge. Should I block you, bro? It looked like you an elder. I think I see a gray beard. I'm gonna let you live for now, elder. Please watch your comments, sir. Please. I would hate to put an elder on the Book of Negroes. Now, there's something else I want to say. And for those of you who want to take my course in Pan-Africanism, I teach a course, Revolutionary Pan-African Nationalism. I see some of my students online now. If any of y'all want to teach the course, it's a whole year. It's a whole year. And it's not just Garveyism. It's all the Pan-Africanists, all of them. See, I need you guys to understand something. I need you guys to understand something. The reason Garvey was so successful in America, whereas he could not have done it in Jamaica, I told you one was the color hierarchy in the islands, but another reason is because the foundation for Pan-Africanism had already been laid in America because Pan-Africanism was birthed in America. Let me say that again. The reason Garvey succeeded here but couldn't succeed in Jamaica is because the foundation for Pan-Africanism had already been laid for him in America. Bishop Henry McNeill Turner, Bishop Turner of the AME Church, the first black man to say God was black, an elected official in Georgia during Reconstruction. The first black chaplain in the Civil War, Bishop Turner, grandfather of Pan-Africanism, had just died before Garvey got to America. Booker T, another Pan-Africanist, had just died before Marcus Garvey had came. Martin Delany, who came up with the phrase Africa for the Africans, Martin Delany of Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, where I went to high school at, laid the foundation for Garvey. Alexander Crummell, who's buried in New York, operated in New York, he laid the foundation for Garvey. Henry Highland Garnett laid the foundation for Garvey. Garvey already had the foundation laid. Marcus Garvey is to Pan-Africanism what Michael Jordan is to basketball. And we know Michael Jordan is a coon. Okay, so I'm not giving him no praise. I'm just drawing a parallel. Michael Jordan is a coon. Unless he gives me an Fdmg donation, I might take the coon label off. But anyway, Marcus Garvey does for Pan-Africanism what Michael Jordan does for basketball. Michael Jordan isn't the first person to dunk a ball. Michael Jordan isn't the first person to dribble a ball. Michael Jordan wasn't the first person to play basketball. Michael Jordan wasn't the first person to win an NBA championship or scoring title. He was not the first. He was not the first. He was not the first, but he was the best. Marcus Garvey wasn't the first Pan-Africanist. Marcus Garvey isn't the first one to take people to Africa. Marcus Garvey isn't the first one to get some ships. Marcus Garvey isn't the first one to teach Black pride. Marcus Garvey isn't the first one to say Africa for the Africans. But Marcus Garvey was able to organize and build a platform and program for Pan-Africanism unlike any Pan-Africanist before him or after him. Garvey was able to do for Pan-Africanism what no Pan-Africanist could do before Garvey or after Garvey. How is Michael Jordan a coon? I'm not even going to waste my breath. That question is as ridiculous as the question Lord Jamal asked when he said why Marcus Garvey never went to Africa. That is a very stupid ass question for anybody with some common sense and a little bit of knowledge. So Garvey gets acquitted by the President of the United States. His sentence is commuted. Here's what I need y'all to know. And then we're going to wrap this up with a couple Garvey quotes. Here's what I need y'all to know. Did y'all know that Calvin Coolidge, the President of the United States, who had African blood himself, Calvin Coolidge was another one of those Negro presidents, by the way. Calvin Coolidge was another one of those Negro presidents, by the way. When Calvin Coolidge signed Garvey's commutation of prison sentence and they let Garvey go, the Honorable Marcus Garvey was not told that Calvin Coolidge did not require his deportation back to Jamaica. Did y'all hear what I just said? Did anybody hear what I just said? Did anybody hear what Dr. Umar just said? I'm going to say it again. Calvin Coolidge, when he signed Garvey's commutation order, he did not require that Marcus Garvey be deported back to Jamaica. But nobody told Marcus Garvey. So when Marcus Garvey is released from prison in Atlanta, he is automatically taken to the port of New Orleans, Louisiana. Garvey went from Atlanta to the port of New Orleans, Louisiana. New Orleans, Louisiana, and on December the 2nd of 1927. On December the 2nd of 1927, which was the saddest day in America for Garveyites and Pan-Africanists. December the 2nd, 1927, Garvey was put on a ship for Jamaica. And he left America for the last time, December the 2nd of 1927. And the Garveyites all showed up, tears in their eyes, that their leader, who had built in America in only 10 years, the largest black organization the world had ever seen. And as the ship left New Orleans on December the 2nd of 1927, the Garveyites began to sing one of the songs of the Garvey movement, which is called God Bless Our President. And they stood there on that rainy day in New Orleans, Louisiana, a state that had more Garvey divisions than any other state in America. And they stood there until they could no longer see the most honorable Marcus Garvey. Garvey doesn't find out until he's in Jamaica that Calvin Coolidge, the President of the United States, never required that he be deported from Jamaica. That's not the end of Garvey, though. We still have to deal with his second Jamaican period, and we have to deal with his final London period. But let me say this. Garvey leaves America on December the 2nd, 1927, at the age of 40 years old. Could you imagine between your 30th birthday and your 40th birthday, between your 30th birthday and your 40th birthday, you build the largest black organization in the world. You create the ideological foundation for the destruction of colonialism in Africa. You give birth to the very same minds that will ultimately liberate Africa from colonialism. You start the most revolutionary economic program in modern history, the Black Star Line steamship and distribution network, and you do this between your 30th birthday and your 40th birthday. Well, although Marcus Garvey left America December 2nd, 1927, Garveyism didn't leave. There was a member of the UNIA. He served in the Detroit Universal African Legion. He served in the Chicago Universal African Legion. His name was Elijah Poole. 2.5 years after Marcus Garvey is deported from the United States of America, Elijah Poole meets Master Farad Muhammad. And these men give birth to the Nation of Islam. The first meetings, some of the earliest meetings of the new organization, was held inside of Marcus Garvey's Liberty Halls in in Detroit. This is documented facts. Mr. Poole, who would become the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, would borrow all of Marcus Garvey's economic, self-determination, and race uplift programs. It would become the foundation for the new organization. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad would use one of Marcus Garvey's most famous quotes, "Up, you mighty race, you can accomplish what you will." And this Marcus Garvey quote will be plastered all over Detroit by the Honorable Marcus Garvey, serving as a sign to those who followed Garvey, who can now come and follow him. Some of the earliest members of the new organization were former members of Marcus Garvey's UNIA. In fact, Mr. Muhammad would borrow the entire structure of Marcus Garvey's UNIA. as Marcus Garvey's had the Universal African Legion and the African Guards of Garvey. That would be called the Fruit of Islam. As Marcus Garvey had the Black Cross nurses, whose job was to keep the African community and family safe and healthy and look after their health care and teach the young women how to be women and the women how to be women. That will become the Muslim Girls Training Program, the MGT. Marcus Garvey had divisions. Mr. Muhammad would have mosque. And so Mr. Muhammad, to his credit, by the way, brothers and sisters, I have total support for the Nation of Islam. I have total support for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, his works, total respect for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, nothing but love for the Nation of Islam. I'm simply stating a historical fact that a member of the Garvey movement gave birth to that organization, that organization borrowed extensively from Garvey's program, and that organization was patterned after Garvey's organization. But they were not alone. Carlos Cooks started the African Nationalist Pioneer Movement. Later on, we get the new Black Panther Party. Dr. King himself spoke of his influence of Garvey. One of the greatest organizers in the history of the Nation of Islam, Malcolm X, was a child of the Garvey movement raised by his parents who were officers in the Garvey movement. And it doesn't stop there. Let's go to Europe. Ho Chi Minh, who was the liberator of Vietnam. Ho Chi Minh, who led Vietnam to their independence, got special permission to attend UNIA meetings while he was in New York City. I'm going to say it again. Not only the black leaders, but the white leaders studied and borrowed from Marcus Garvey. Ho Chi Minh of Vietnam. Ho Chi Minh attended Garvey meetings in New York, and Ho Chi Minh took Garveyism to Vietnam and led Vietnam to independence. I'm not done. Mao Zedong, the man who gave birth to the People's Republic of China. Mao Zedong, the man who gave birth to the People's Republic of China, studied Marcus Garvey and used Garveyism to rebuild China. I'm not going to stop there. Mussolini, the dictator of Italy who tried to invade Ethiopia, stole all of Marcus Garvey's ideas, but he used it for white supremacy. Adolf Hitler studied Marcus Garvey. In fact, Marcus Garvey sent Mussolini a telegram telling him that he had stole Garveyism and was now using Garveyism to try to take over the world. Everybody copied Marcus Garvey, not just the black leaders, the white leaders, the Chinese leaders, the Vietnamese leaders. Garvey was everything at that time, brothers and sisters. But here's what I love about Garvey. Here's what I love about Garvey. Here's what I love about Garvey. As great as he was, as powerful as he was, Marcus Garvey never claimed to be a prophet. He never claimed to be a Messiah. Marcus Garvey said, I am nothing but a man who has come here to try to help my people. The Garvey movement was not a dictatorship. The Garvey movement was a democracy. The Garvey movement was a democracy. The Garvey movement was a democracy. He was voted President General of the UNIA. He was voted. The title honorable was voted in front of Marcus Garvey's name. Marcus Garvey was voted the provisional president of the United States of Africa, which is his idea. Kwame Nkrumah Osajifo, the great Kwame Nkrumah, who is second only to Garvey. The great Osajifo, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, who is second only to Garvey, borrowed the concept of the United States of Africa from the most honorable Marcus Garvey. That was Garvey's idea, United States of Africa. Nkrumah borrowed it. Nkrumah borrowed it. Yes. Marcus Garvey had to get elected at the UNIA convention every 4 years. You elect a president every 4 years in America. Well, the UNIA elects a president general every 4 years. Garvey was not a dictator. He had to get voted into office. Brothers and sisters, in 1920, Garvey gave birth to the greatest black convention in modern history. From August the 1st to August the 31st of 1920, 25,000 Africans from all over the world came to New York City from August the 1st to August the 31st, and they organized and created a program for the universal liberation and emancipation of African people. August the 1st to August the 31st, 1920. They would come back again, 1921. They would come back again, 1922. They would come back again, 1923. And we still have the UNIA conventions 100 years, more than 100 years after the organization was founded 106, 107 years ago. 25,000 Africans from all over the world inside of Madison Square Garden. 25,000 outside of Madison Square Garden. The white man said he's never seen nothing like this in his life. The black man all over the world was ready to fight for one Africa, a United States of Africa, with Marcus Garvey as the leader. And they came to New York City in August of 1920 to build a government, not a church, a government. Not a club, a government. The Garvey movement was a government of African people in exile. Never before have you seen it. Never again will you see it. Never before have you seen it. Never again will you see it. Never before have you seen it. Never again will you see it. The red, black, and green flag comes from that. The red, black, and green flag comes from the 1920 convention. This is the most popular flag for black people in the world. Now you know why. This is the most popular flag for black people in the world. Now you know why. This is the most popular flag in Black America. It's the most popular flag in the Caribbean. It's the most popular flag in Europe for blacks. It's the most popular flag in Africa. Every country in Africa has one of those colors in its flag. Every country in Africa has one of the Garvey colors in its flag, because that's what Garvey means to us. Kwame Nkrumah put a black star on the flag of Ghana to represent the Black Star Line. Brothers and sisters, as we close out tonight's seminar, I hope you enjoyed it. Wait a minute. I know y'all probably got some questions. I'm about to wrap this up. I know y'all got some questions. Somebody said, are you still on? You don't have to ask me that. You can check that. I have listened to you on Instagram tonight, and I can say thank you for all your knowledge. Some information I didn't know, and some you really explained very clearly. I am learning from you and taking notes as you speak. Continue to do what you do. That was a sweet message. Let's see what else I have. Dr. Umar, why not move in silence? Why educate wherever you can? Don't you think the threat is bigger if they know how you move? Prideful is okay at times, but meek and discreet is even better. Your enemies will not know how to attack you. Blessings and peace be unto you, brother. Stan Grant. Let me answer her. I want to answer her. We are all born into this world with a certain destiny and a certain energy. Like Marcus Garvey before me, Dr. Umar Ifatunde is not meant to move under the shadows. I am, like Garvey, a mass organizer. I was given a silver tongue for a reason. I was given this intelligence for a reason. I agree with my sister. Some of us have to move in silence, but not me, because I am Ogun. Ogun is the Orisha of the war. Ogun is the Orisha of nation building. Ogun is the Orisha of strength. Ogun is the Orisha of power. Ogun is the Orisha of will. With all due respect, I do not believe my role in the struggle is to duck, hide, bob, weave, negotiate. We do need that. That's not my job. I am a Garvey type. I am a Leo Ogun. There's no way being born under the sun and being born under the archetype of the deity of war that I'm supposed to be quiet and tuck my tail. I am meant to roar like the lion I am. And I am going to roar like the lion that I am. I am doing exactly what I am supposed to do. I can only hope and pray that y'all don't let Negroes destroy me the way y'all let them destroy the most honorable Marcus Garvey. Let me see what else we have. Why was my Jamaican hero, Marcus Garvey, pardoned by the U.S. president? I already answered that. Because they were scared of a global black uprising, okay? And also because he knew Marcus Garvey had been wrongly and falsely imprisoned, that it was a J. Edgar Hoover setup because they were too threatened by the promise of what the Black Star Line steamship would have done. Dr. Umar, my name is Osaruyi. I got to work on that, brother. I think you Nigerian, as am I, ancestors. And I was wondering how you would tell a black man to navigate being at a predominantly white institution. I want to be able to continue with a proud African man. Oh, this is a queen. This is a queen. My apologies, sister. I want to be able to continue to be, oh no, it's a brother. I want to continue to be a proud African man without Neanderthals. I got one word for you, brother. Do not catch the snow bunny virus. Do not catch the snow bunny virus. Do not catch the snow bunny virus. How many of you all knew? How many of you all knew that if you had the snow bunny virus, you could not join the Marcus Garvey movement when Garvey was around? Did you know that? When Marcus Garvey was leader of the UNIA, you could not join the UNIA if you were married to a non-African. That is a fact. Marcus Garvey did not tolerate the snow bunny crisis. Marcus Garvey did not tolerate the snow bunny crisis. If you were married to a non-African, you could not join the Garvey movement. That is a fact. It's a fact. It's a fact. It is a fact. There's a documentary on YouTube about Marcus Garvey that was published by WHYY PBS more than 10 years ago. I do tell people to watch it, but I want people to know there's a lot of lies in that documentary. And when it was published, the Honorable Marcus Garvey Jr., who just joined the ancestors on December the 8th, his brother, Dr. Julius Garvey, who is still alive in New York, Dr. Malefi Asante of Afrocentricity here in Philadelphia, and other black scholars wrote editorials criticizing PBS and WHYY for lying and misrepresenting the most honorable Marcus Garvey in that documentary. There were lies in there. They claimed that he stole money. Totally false. The UNIA hired the top tax accountants in New York to handle the books for the Black Star Line. Garvey did not handle the books himself. He paid the top accountants in New York City to handle the money for the UNIA and for the Black Star Line. He could be guilty of no such thing because he did not touch the money. He refused to. Okay, these are facts. They also try to say that Marcus Garvey got his speaking style from some white preacher. Excuse me, Marcus Garvey was part of the National Club in Jamaica. He taught young people how to give speeches and how to debate. He was a great debater himself in Jamaica before he even got to America. What are you talking about? They really tried to disparage Garvey. They claimed that he used the money for himself when he didn't even touch the money for the organization. So although I think there's a lot of good factual information in the PBS documentary, there's also a lot of lies in the PBS documentary as well. One of the things that came out of the 1920 convention, along with the red, black, and green flag, one of the things that came out of the 1920 convention, along with the red, black, and green flag, was the Declaration of Rights. The Declaration of Rights for the African peoples of the world. Okay? I want to read you a few of the Declaration of Rights. They go to Black Cross nurses. They go to Black Cross nurses. Black Cross nurses of Garvey. Black Cross nurses teaching people how to eat to live. Black Cross nurses, free medical care in the black community. Black Cross nurses. That's right, brothers and sisters. That's right. We were the first to do it. We were the first to do it. Everybody else copied off of us. We were the first to do it. Black Cross nurses. That's right. That's right. And guess what, black woman? I got something for the sisters. I got something for the sisters. I got something for the sisters. Did you know that black women had their own military in the UNIA? Did you know black women had their own military in the UNIA? It was called the Universal African Motor Corps. Black women had their own military. Black women had their own military, the Universal African Motor Corps. Marcus Garvey was so committed to the equality of black man and woman. The most honorable Marcus Garvey was so committed to the equality of black man and woman that every division of the Garvey movement had to have a man president and a female president. I'm going to say it again. In the Garvey movement, every division had to have a man president and a lady president. Did y'all hear me, sisters? Did y'all hear me, sisters? In the Garvey movement, the women were equal, and you had to have a lady president right next to the man president. That's Garvey. Black women had their own military in the Universal African Motor Corps. They own military. In fact, I'm going to give you another piece of Garvey history. When did the white woman get the right to vote? When was the 19th Amendment of the United States Constitution ratified? I'm about to blow y'all mind. Feminists, I want my feminists to listen up. I want my feminists to listen up. I want my feminists to listen up. Yes. 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 When did the 19th Amendment get ratified? Or was it the 21st Amendment? What was the amendment that gave a white woman the right to vote? Hold on. Let me look it up. I'm going to blow y'all bubble with this. '19th Amendment. The 19th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution was ratified on August the 18th, 1920. The 19th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution giving white women to vote was ratified on August the 18th of 1920. The 19th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution was ratified on August the 18th of 1920. Do y'all want to know why? Do y'all want to know why? Oh, I'm giving you Garvey tonight. I'm giving you Garvey tonight. I'm giving you Garvey tonight. The reason the white woman got the right to vote on August the 16th of 1920 in the middle of Garvey's convention. In the middle of Garvey's convention. In the middle of Garvey's convention, the 19th Amendment got ratified. Now I'm going to tell you how. And I'm going to give you the receipt so you can go research it. Y'all ready? Are y'all ready? When white women saw that Marcus Garvey was treating the black woman equal, when white women saw that Marcus Garvey was treating the black woman equal and that there was a lady president for every division and the black woman had a right to vote inside of Madison Square Garden during the Garvey Convention and the black woman had her own military, the white women wrote letters to the President of the United States and the U.S. Congress saying, how dare you let this black man give his own black woman full equality, including the right to vote at his convention, and we don't even have a right to vote. And it embarrassed the U.S. government. Marcus Garvey embarrassed the U.S. Marcus Mosiah Garvey embarrassed the U.S. government so bad that in the middle of his convention, they ratified the 19th Amendment and gave the white woman the right to vote. If you don't believe me, do your research. That's facts. That's facts. You can't compare the most honorable Marcus Garvey to no other leader you have ever known. None of them can tie his shoes. None of them. The woman got the right to vote because of Garvey. You out your mind. Talking about you want me to debate your leader, your little hustler leader. Name the time, name the place, $20,000 donation to Fdmg, and I will gladly intellectually assassinate any Negro you want. Give me 20 grand for the school, I'll debate anybody you want. Anybody you want for 20 grand. But if you ain't got 20 grand for the school, I'm not wasting my time. Because in the words of the last great revolutionary Pan-African nationalist before me, his name was Dr. John Henry Clark. He was a master teacher. And Dr. Clark said, I only debate my equals. All others I teach. Pan-Africanist Dr. Clark said, I only debate my equals. All others I teach. Dr. Clark said, I only debate my equals. All others I teach. But if you want me to come down to his level, 20K, and I will gladly conduct the intellectual assassination. Don't nobody want no smoke with me. Don't nobody want no real smoke with me. Let me find this, because I'm going to get ready to let y'all go. Where are the Declaration of Rights? Them next time. Maybe that'll be a whole live stream. But let me read this. This is an essay from the Honorable Marcus Garvey. Nah, I'm going to pass on that one. Let me do some quotes at the front. Let me do some quotes out of philosophy. Y'all need to get this book if you don't have it. You need to get this book if you don't have it. You need to get this book if you don't have it. You need to get this book if you don't have it. You need to get this book if you don't have it. You need to get this book if you don't have it. You need to get this book if you don't have it. Okay. Queen Mother Amy Jakes Garvey. Queen Mother Amy Jakes Garvey. A Pan-Africanist in her own right. The second wife of the most honorable Marcus Garvey, Queen Mother Amy Jakes Garvey, who compiled the philosophy and opinions of Marcus Garvey. She looked just like the Honorable Marcus Garvey Jr., who passed away a few weeks ago in Florida. A couple Garvey quotes to close out the night. Garvey said, "The ends you serve, respect." Garvey said, "A race without authority and power is a race without respect." Garvey said, "A race without authority and power is a race without respect." The reason we don't get no respect, whether you vote or don't vote. Garvey is telling you right here, if you don't have no power, if you don't have no authority, you're not going to get no respect. They don't care if you got American citizenship, Democrat, Republic. We need power and we need authority. A race without authority and power is a race without respect. Garvey. Garvey said, this is the day of the human family must exercise its own initiative and influence in its own protection. Therefore, Africans should be more determined today than they have ever been, because the mighty forces of the world are operating against non-organized groups. Let me say it again. The mighty forces of the world are operating against non-organized groups who are not ambitious enough to protect their own interests. This is classical Garveyism. This is classical Garveyism. The mighty forces of the world are operating against non-organized groups of people who are not ambitious enough to protect their own interests. Garvey said, wake up, Ethiopia. Wake up, Africa. Let us work towards one glorious end, a free and redeemed mighty nation. Let Africa be a bright star among the conquerors. Let parting of the ways. It is a question of man, mind thyself. African, look out for yourself. Stop trying to save everybody and save yourself. Garvey said, the political readjustment of the world means that those who are not sufficiently able nor sufficiently prepared will be at the mercy of the organized classes for 100 or 200 years. I'm going to repeat that because that's relevant right now. He said this 100 years ago. He prophesied this 100 years ago, and it's still relevant right now. He said, the political readjustment of the world means that those who are not sufficiently able, only protection against injustice is power. The only protection against injustice is power. The only protection against injustice is power. Physical, financial, scientific. We respect our Moorish brothers and sisters. We respect, they're not wrong and we're not wrong. They focus on the law. We focus on power. They focus on the policies and procedures. We focus on liberation and emancipation. I love y'all, my Moorish brothers. We all good. I'm going to let y'all focus on the law, but we going to focus on power. Garveyism is about the power. Garveyism is about being in a position to command your enemy to leave you the hell alone. That's Garvey. Garvey said, nationhood is the only means by which modern civilization can completely protect itself. He said, independence of nationality, independence of government is the means of protecting not only the individual, but the group. Nationhood, Pan-African nation means of Garvey is relevant to all of you African-American tribalists. All of you who ain't from Africa, all of you who ain't left nothing in Africa, all of you who want to call yourselves slaves, but you don't want to call yourself Africans. You don't mind being a descendant of a slave, but you don't want to be a descendant of an African. Let Africans listen to this. This is for all you African-American tribalists, you anti-African Negro Americans. Listen to this. So, this is Garvey, quote, so many of us find excuses to get out of the African race. So many of us find excuses to get out of the African race because we are led, but the group, Black Power, unworthy, that it has not accomplished anything. Cowards we are. Garvey said, if you trying to disidentify from being African, you a coward. Garvey said, you a coward. Stop trying to get an excuse to not be black. Stop trying to get an excuse to not be African. Garvey said, it is we who are unworthy because we are not contributing to the uplift and upbuilding of this noble race. Garvey said, how dare anyone tell us that Africa cannot be redeemed when we have 400 million men and women with blood in their veins? Garvey said the power that holds Africa is not divine. The power that holds Africa is human, and it is recognized that whatever man has done, man can do. If they can take Africa, we can take it back. If they can oppress us, we can eliminate it. Don't say you're the equal of another man if you're at the same time saying you can't do for yourself what he has done for himself. If we want our children to be proud, then we have to lead the way. It is up to us to do this. Garvey said, we of the African race are moving from one state of organization to another, and we shall so continue until we have thoroughly weighed, and we shall create another in the future that will astonish the world. What did Muhammad Ali say? I shocked the world. I shocked the world. Garvey said, we're going to shock the world again. Garvey said, the world is run on bluff. No race, no nation, no man has any right to take advantage of bluff. To bluff you. Garvey said every student of political science, every student of economics knows that the race can only be saved through a solid industrial foundation, that the African race can only be saved through political independence. Take away industry from a race, take away political freedom from a race, and you have a group of slaves. That's Garvey talk. He said, take away industry from a race, take away freedom from a race, and you have a group of slaves. Garvey said, take away freedom, not accept money from non-Africans, grants and white loans. Listen to this. The Negro who lives on the patronage of philanthropists. The Negro who lives on the patronage of philanthropists is the most dangerous member of the race because he is willing to turn back the clock of progress when his benefactors ask him to do so. Did you hear that? Obama maniacs, Kamala maniacs, the Negro who lives on the patronage acts social. Races are selfish. Races look out for themselves. They don't care about African people. And we need to start prioritizing ourselves. We don't have to hate nobody. We don't have to hurt nobody, but we got to look out for us. Garvey said race first. The race is first, not your religion. The race is first, not your Masonic lodge. The race is first, not your fraternity. The race is first, not your sorority. The race is first, not your nationality. The race is first. African family first. Garvey said, the greatest weapon used against the Negro is disorganization. The greatest weapon used against the Negro is disorganization. Garvey said the greatest weapon used against the Negro is disorganization. I'm going to close with this quote and make some final comments. Remember, this is going to be a whole course. If you're interested in taking the course of Pan-Africanism, if you're interested in taking the course of Pan-Africanism, text my cell phone. I will lock you in. And when I'm ready to register the next class of students, I will let you know. You will have to pay. You will have to pay. It's not free. If you want to take the next course of revolutionary Africanism, text my cell phone. I will lock you in. And when I'm ready to register the next class of students, I will let you know. You will have to pay. You will have to pay. It's not free. If you want to take the next course of revolutionary Pan-African nationalism, starting in 2021, the next course, text my phone. I will lock you in and I will send you the information. There will be no more than 50 students. There will be no more than 50 students, 25 men, 25 women. If you're interested, 215-989-9858. 215-989-9858. 215-989-9858. J. Ogun. I hope you're not on here cooning, brother, because I'm the real Ogun right here. Real Ogun is right here, brother. I hope you're not cooning. Last quote from the Honorable Marcus Garvey. If you have no confidence in self, you are twice defeated in the race of life. With confidence, you have won, even before you have started. This is the quote of the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy. This is the quote of the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy. Confidence, you have motivated and inspired to study more about Garvey. Make sure you get Garvey and Garveyism, written by Queen Mother Amy Jakes Garvey. Garvey and Garveyism, Black Power in the Garvey Movement. Make sure you get the Marcus Garvey Library, the encyclopedias of Marcus Garvey. Brothers and sisters, the whole encyclopedias. Please donate to the school. Cash App, $ Fdmg School. If you learned anything tonight, if these 3 or 4 hours I've given you were worth anything to you, donate to the future of black boys. Get on your Cash App, $ Fdmg School. Get on your PayPal, paypal.me/Cash App, $ Dr.Umar Johnson. I love y'all. I'll see y'all tomorrow for seminar number 3. Peace and Black Power.